right. Welcome, everybody. We're excited to jump into this one. We're going to be talking about stop sending signal, start driving pipeline. To do that, we brought on a new friend of mine. Her name is Trinity. Trinity, thanks for joining. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, really appreciate it. Trinity's currently running the marketing over at a company called UserGems. I've known this company for a while. I think you guys were the originals with this kind of signal-based movement. I've always used you guys for the original job change alerts and
Oh,
stuff and things
God.
like that. But I know you guys have evolved a lot from that. Maybe give us kind of the quick update. Tell us a little about yourself and what you guys are doing over at UserGems.
Yeah, I almost jump in and say, like, Gabe, don't say it. Don't say job change tracking. Because with everyone, if you ever heard of
But it's
UserGems,
part of your core. It's part of your
we have
core.
evolved. No, but like all jokes aside, so essentially, the way we call ourselves now is like, so UserGem is now is like the AI command center for your go-to-market team.
Okay.
The use cases is typically like outbound and ABM.
Yeah.
But the best way to understand it, and I didn't come up with this phrase, it's actually customers told us this, is like, you guys are like the brain behind our go-to-market. So like, what is command center? It's essentially the brain, the intelligence layer that sits between your CRM and all the action tools that you have.
Yes, interesting,
Yeah, and
interesting.
signals is one of them, and job changes is one of the many signals.
Yes, yes. Which we're going to get into in just a minute because I think you guys are doing some pretty cool stuff with this brain and how people think about the new aged outbound motion and where it goes from there. So excited to jump into that. And maybe we can. I'd love to kind of dovetail off of that. I mean, you guys have been pioneers at outbound. How have you then seen this kind of change and evolve from, 10 years ago, we were probably spraying and praying, ABM came out, Signal started coming out, job change, and it's continued to evolve. Walk me through that evolution and how you guys are starting to see this new world with a brain that's helping outbound kind of be and act different.
Oh, that's the first time I got that question. I really like that. No, it's true. It actually the evolution, and so I've been at UserGems for almost 7 years, so I got a chance to see the evolution in the
Yes.
market as well, which is pretty fascinating. So, like, if you were right, that we started out with everyone had a yellow pages back in the 90s if you were around, and then we got
Yeah.
a digital yellow page. That's called the internet, and then we start getting like the ABM, which is account level intent. There's someone researching. I think when user gems came around in the 2020, we looked into job change, so like champion tracking, because that's like a contact level movement of the buyers as one of the hardest signals, and it's just a signal that sales and marketing understand what that means. If they use your products, they're more likely to buy it again. So we started out with that, and then fast forward to I would say around 2024 or so. Then I think AI made data, specifically signals, a lot more accessible. So like, we started out with like the champion tracking and then like new executive hires. So there's still like role changes, right?
Sure.
And then like in 2024, I remember it was like July 4th or something, 2024, where like signals become just exploded. That's when you start hearing about like website visits, funding, 10K filing report, M&A, like everything. That's when like the LinkedIn internet exploded with signal-based go-to-market, but it was still new. So everyone's still looking for like, can you give a playbook for funding? Can you give a playbook for job change? Can you give a playbook for that? So that took like about I think like 12 months. Then everyone, what we experienced internally is we ended up having 30 to 40 different playbooks for different signals
Cool.
independently.
Cool.
But that blew our RevOps team's mind away. Like it did in a bad way. We could not maintain it because, like for example, if I want to target, like say ServiceNow
Yeah.
as an enterprise motion, they don't just you can't break into ServiceNow with just one signal. What you need to know is like what's going on the account, all
Oh.
the signals, everything that's happening. So then in around 2025, you started hearing the concept of stacking signals. What it means is like getting all the data you can get about the account and the people, aggregate them, and then combining with the context of your business. That's how you prioritize account and buyers. So
Uh,
that's where we are. And like the stacking signals, so like it's basically, it's the thing of the brain analogy piece
yeah.
again, kind of like you have the first party data on your CRM, Databricks, Snowflakes, etc., like
Sure.
HubSpot, pull that in, and then you buy all the third-party signals like the user gems and whatnot, bring that in, and then the brain. This is where AI really shines. It can really combine all of these
Yes.
signals and data And then that's when you kind of like send it out to like arms and limbs. And that's like the
Yeah,
sales marketing sees.
fascinating. Oh my
So
goodness.
that's
Okay.
the journey. That's
No, I
actually a
love it.
journey.
Look, I
It's
love it. Now
crazy.
I have 1,000 more questions and we only have like 30 minutes. So, okay, so
Yeah.
you said one thing that's real interesting, and I think that's debated, but I want to highlight it. So,
Yeah.
your best practice, your recommendation is not to really, because get an individual signal and run a playbook on that, but move from individual signal and then action to this stacking of signals. That's a
Yeah.
more, that's a better approach for kind of outbound. Did I get that right?
Yeah. Yeah. Correct.
Yeah,
Um,
fascinating. Okay.
because it won't cut through the noise. Everyone has the same
Mm.
individual signals that you have, and that's why people are saying like, "Congrats on the job, buy my tool doesn't work." The congrats doesn't work anymore because it's individual. So if
Shoot.
you're stacking it, it's like, "Congrats. By the way, your team talked to us last year but didn't move forward because of XYZ. Saw that you just acquired somebody. That must mean there's like revenue pressure, blah blah blah." Then that's how you're stacking it.
Yeah, I know. I
Yeah.
really like that. I think that's super valuable. Okay, and then you kind of touched on this a little bit, but the idea of account level, data isn't like as good as, maybe personal, like how do you manage that? Because yeah, is account level just it's too broad that it's not very actionable, or why do you feel like account level intent isn't very valuable?
Well, I think the more data, the better, because again, now we have AI to ingest and synthesize a lot of data. It's not that it's not good, it's just not enough.
Yes. Okay.
So again, going back to the service now,
You
if
need more.
someone's saying that like someone maybe can even give me the location in Washington or like Seattle researching AI for ABM, is that an actionable signal for my reps to go after? It's service now.
Yeah,
So, but if I know it's Gabe at ServiceNow,
it's
VP
different.
of Sales,
It's different. Yeah, that makes
yeah,
sense. Okay. Okay, that's
yeah.
helpful. And then what do you, just on the signal front, without giving away too much, but is there certain signals that you are finding that are kind of like the standard? I mean, you were mentioning some, and I think a lot of people go to that. It's if it's not jobs, it's funding. If it's not funding, it's, maybe there a purchase of something. Is there certain that you feel like most organizations are leaning towards, or is it always, is it really unique per company?
It depends. It's a yes to both, and depends in the sense that if you're sales led motion, then I would say a lot of the standards, like I think role change really helpful, especially if you're an infrastructure
Yeah.
tools. It's like, for example, some of our customers are like HR solution,
Yeah.
and think of the greenhouses of the world.
Hmm.
Usually, you only sell that in when there's a new chief HR officer coming in and basically revamp. Think of like the technology infrastructure, IT, right?
Yeah.
So that still have value in there, and then there's also like revive closed loss is also a favorite as well
Oh,
because
yes.
they
Oh,
much further in the process.
such a good one.
This
Yeah.
is such a like in B2B, we run revive close loss all the time, but most companies don't run it well. We set up this static, arbitrary, like circle back in 6 months and nurture. I don't think that's very smart because now you have the data. You're like, okay, it's close loss, set maybe 30, 40 days as a breathing room, but then start monitoring for any changes that's happening in the account. So if suddenly they got a
Mm,
new like CISO and then somebody visit your pricing page again, why are you waiting for 6 months?
yeah, fascinating, fascinating. Yeah, like the
Yeah, so that's
signal
for like sales led.
should
Yeah, and
dictate that
then
a little bit more. I
yeah,
like
and
that.
then like on the like if you're PLG, then I think like product usage is
Uh,
critical.
yeah.
Another one that goes across both PLG and SLG is just we're sitting on so much sales and marketing engagement data.
Mm,
So like we sync all of our call transcripts to the brain so that it doesn't rely on reps on the closed loss notes or anything.
mm,
It reads all the transcript and kind of discern what's happening with this account and when's a good time to come back. We're also capturing all like event attendee, event registrants, all the marketing stuff that just live and die in HubSpot. Bring that in, use that as a signal, and
mhm.
then use that to prioritize.
That's really, yeah, that's interesting. And then you guys are actually kind of, that's part of your go-to-market is offering this brain type concept to help organizations assemble some of these different pieces together in the brain. How do you see companies executing on this information? In the past, I think part of the challenge was, well, it's actually not even the past. I was just talking to somebody. Um, and they were like, "Hey, we're doing amazing at signal aggregating. They're getting a bunch of these different signals." But then they kind of walked through this execution element, and it felt like it was a little bit of a Frankenstein. This tool and that tool, and it's connection. And anyways, they were like, it's a little bit harder, but boy, we love our signal. How do you feel like companies are finding ways to execute appropriately on these signals?
Um, I think the best way we've seen is collect the signals, but don't just throw it over to either the marketing team or the reps. Usually, reps are the ones that have to bear the grunt of this because it's just another signal to you as a manager, but it's probably the 254th things they being asked to do that day on top of their regular like calling,
Sure.
emailing, all that.
Yeah.
And then we're wondering like, oh, reps are not doing anything. Well, because they're reaching out to like 2,000 people right now, and you have to like think about that person and the context. So the way that I like to do, I come from, I used to work for Intel on the manufacturing side, so we like to kind of like assembly line the entire things that need to happen,
Yeah.
how they spend their time. Like for example, if I want to do a revive close loss, or if I want to do an ABM, I like to map out every single step of the way
Yeah.
and trying to see that the pain points where I want to set, like the reps to spend their time on, and look into technology or AI to automate as much as possible to all the way to the end.
Got it.
So, for example, I'm sure at Atonom, you guys are probably like tackling this as well. Like for us, like build lists, prioritizing accounts, even drafting the emails. Not something that reps wake up like I cannot wait to write that personalized email. We add all of that into their sequence in outreach or sales loft,
Yep.
so that they wake up, things queued up, and they actually calling, social selling, which they love, and now they volunteering to go to events to actually meet with the people that the system is emailing. So yeah.
Fascinating. Yeah. I think that's been the challenge is that it's kind of a two-step process. You want to get the data, but you want to action the data. And I think you hit it where I find a lot of companies are stacking signals and they feel like they're getting better, but then they're slacking sales reps, like, hey, here's some cool information, or again, the standard, someone visited our website, and then the sales reps like,
The first time they'll be excited about it, and then like I give you about
that's
7 days max. It
that's
becomes noise. Like we love Slack. We send a lot of Slack notifications just so we see things. But there's a saying we tell our customers like, if your campaign or workflow ends in a Slack, that's where it's gonna die. Like nothing's gonna happen.
That's so true. That's so true. I think a lot of people are experiencing that. Super interesting. Yeah, it's so fun to talk to the source, again, of kind of this whole signal-based stuff and see how you guys are thinking about it and coaching your customers a little bit on it. Want to ask just a few more and then we can wrap here. When it comes to kind of the AI in this go-to-market space, specifically in the prospecting world. You've mentioned it a little bit, but I want to just kind of dedicate a minute to where do you feel like AI is playing big roles? It's like it sounds like in this brain portion, like being able to assemble some of that and so that it's in a digestible manner. Like that's a good place for AI to play a role. Where is it playing a role? Where shouldn't AI play a role? Your quick take is kind of someone at UserGems, but also running and operating a go-to-market team.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, because of how powerful AI has become, especially in cloud. Like we talk about cloud all the time. My one-on-one is all about like what I build in cloud to scale my job kind of thing. So
Yeah.
everyone's very excited about it, and we tend to say like, oh, AI is going to be an end-to-end.
Yeah.
But what I've been telling folks, I don't think AI is end-to-end. I think it's a middle to middle. Again, like kind of like that assembly line thing. It's going to be a human who's like, I want this, or I have this strategy, I have this idea. And then you can work with AI to kind of like figure out the plan, and then AI can
That's
go
really
and
where
do
it's working,
and
right?
then at
I
the
think,
end, it's like you either review or consume it, right?
yeah, I feel like that's really where it's winning. I know there's some FOMO on LinkedIn and stuff where people are like, I replaced my whole company with AI, but I think the truth is closer to what you said. I have or it goes out and does something and brings it back. I have an idea, it cleans it up and brings it back, and it becomes this kind of partner. But the idea that we're giving our company to somebody else and it's doing everything is obviously a little far-fetched on that front. Interesting. I got it. And is there a couple areas where you feel like your teams or you've seen teams really work well with that? Like, sounds like maybe in the content production, again, maybe in the assembling of signals, there are a couple areas where you're like, God, if you're not thinking about AI here or there, you should, because it's powerful.
It's kind of like scattered out in like so many things now. So we talk
Yeah.
a lot about the outbound, right?
Yeah.
That part is so assisted by AI if you're not using it, and if it even if it doesn't give you the right results yet, keep optimizing it. Don't give up. It took
Mm.
us, I think, a little bit, like 3 4 months, to finally hit the rhythm,
Yeah.
and make sure that your team actually leaning in and not thinking that the AI is going to take their job. I think
Yeah.
that's a little thing to call out. On the marketing side, I think we actually don't use AI on the creative side, which is
Uh,
really interesting. We're playing around with tools to create images and videos
sure.
and voice, but I don't know why, but we haven't. Maybe it's just the last piece. But we use it for like account selection, basically the data
Yeah.
heavy part. And right now, my product marketing person is building an enablement system, which is so cool. I cannot wait to share it on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Cool.
Essentially, like what she's doing in the old, not old, typical companies would be like a 3 head count
Yeah.
to do it, because it's enablement internal and enablement external. We're
Mm.
combining the documentation help center with enablement person. It's just like one OS that's cascades and update, and it's so cool. So yeah, there's a lot of
I love it.
places.
I love it. No, look, that's super interesting to hear. Again, you're kind of living it, drinking it, eating it, breathing it type of thing. So that's fun to hear kind of where, and I appreciate that. Look, I think it's, you hear so much that everyone's doing AI everywhere, but to your point, it's like, hey, you're trying it a little bit in creative and there's some inroads, but it's not like it's been this kind of like, again, unlock that's eliminated half your team. So you got to kind of test into that and find the right balance.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, look, fun to hear kind of some of your thoughts. I'd love kind of your summary statement on kind of this brain concept. It's like there's the signal stuff is coming up a lot. Where do you feel like teams fail when it comes to turning this signal concept, this brain, into like pipeline? Like, what's the gotchas you'd kind of leave with the audience here?
I don't know if it's a got you, but something that I start realizing, because I've been in this space for a long, kind of observing the market and how people think, I really start seeing that revenue leaders or sales marketing leaders who think in systems,
Yeah.
the light bulb goes up a lot faster. And this whole signal based thing will follow. What I mean is, like, a lot of time people say, oh, I want that silver bullet. I want that one playbook, that one signal that can double my pipeline. It
Yeah.
doesn't work like that anymore.
It's
Or like
just,
the predictable revenue model where we like just specialize and just put headcount in there, it doesn't quite work. So
I
like
love
I
that.
think people have to think in systems to figure out how to scale an AI, and then everything
No,
else can
that's
plug
awesome.
in.
Yeah, yeah. We always want that magic bullet, but it's not ever there. It's just not there. So I love it. Cool. Well, again, Trinity, really appreciate the time to talk through what's going on in the world of outbound. If someone wants to learn a little more about user gems or touch base with you, what would be the best way to do that?
LinkedIn.
There you go.
I'm always there, so.
She is. I've been following her a little bit more lately. She's loud and proud, so you'll find her on there. But great information. I think you guys are doing some cool stuff. So again, appreciate you taking the time, and for the audience, have a fantastic day.